of the Mill Sites Redevelopment Advisory Committee. Thank you very much for coming out in this cold, rainy November evening to join us at this event. The Mill Sites Redevelopment Advisory Committee has been meeting monthly since 2009. We have 7 members. I'd just like to give a shout out to them. It's Steve Lewis, Joanne Hall, Norma O'Leary, Bernie Davis, Charlene Langlaw, and Renee Walker. This is actually the 5th information meeting that we've had regarding developments with the river mill. This evening we wanted to get together for kind of a progress report, not only of the environmental aspects of the river mill, but also the bar grant and the other kind of development activities that are going on in the neighborhood that affect our community. So this evening we have several speakers who will take a few moments to go over different topics about the bar grant and the redevelopment of the river mill. And we're also very, very fortunate that we have some representatives from our state and federal agencies who are instrumental partners in the redevelopment. They've been assisting us in obtaining grants and assisting us with environmental permits, and they're available this evening if they choose to make a few remarks. They'll be able to do so, and they'll be available for question and answers as well. The BAR grant, what BAR stands for is Brownfield Area Wide Revitalization. It's a grant that is administered by the state DECD. Thompson participated in a competitive process to obtain the grant, which we were awarded in 2016 for $170,000. The BAR grant area comprises most of North Roverdale and Roverdale, and the next slide is actually a map of the project area. And the BAR grant is intended to help the town develop a comprehensive implementation plan for remediation and redevelopment within the whole area. So it's a unique grant because it doesn't focus on just one site. The realization is that a site doesn't exist in a vacuum, and if you want to make valuable improvements, you really need to look at the whole surrounding area. So the BAR grant is an important complement to our other activities we're working on, such as cleaning up and redeveloping the Belding Corticelli Mill property, rehabilitating the River Mill complex, improving vehicular and pedestrian mobility. And all of these activities together will help enhance the community's livability and vitality. This just shows a map of the BAR grant area. It's essentially along the Route 12 corridor from Route 200 in the south to Route 131 in the north. It does include most of our historic, civic, educational, and business centers in Thompson. In a few moments, John Guskowski, the planner from CME, will go into a lot more specific details of the various components and tasks that we've been working on for the BAR grant. And before we get to the other speakers, I'd like to go over kind of a history of the progress and the timeline of the studies that we've been working on since 2015. And in 2015, the town obtained a $218,000 brownfield renovation grant. This was primarily for the river mill structure. It included some other components besides environmental assessments, such as some structural analysis and hazardous building materials. When that grant just started getting kicked off was when we became aware that there was a contractor that was looking to demolish the mill. So there was a public information meeting held in 2017 there was overwhelming community support to try to renovate the mill and not demolish it. actually a former town planner, Mary Ann Gennady, who's here with us this evening, was very instrumental in setting up that evening and circulating a petition, and there was thousands of signatures in support of the redevelopment of the mill versus demolition. Moving on into 2018, some of that grant money for environmental assessments was used on 915 Riverside Drive, which is the property of the former Jim's Hardware, so those environmental assessments were done on that property. Then in 2018, the town was awarded a $170,000 bar grant from DECD, which a critical component of the town accepting that was the $17,000 cash match from John Mumford's River Mill Development LLC. That was one of the requirements of the grant, was the cash match. So we're really kind of deep into working on the bar grant tasks at this point. One of them is the rewriting of zoning regulations and how they affect the bar grant area. And in fact, a draft copy of the regulations has been submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission because they're in the process of rewriting zoning regulations town-wide. So this is kind of one component for mixed use in this area of Riverdale. As I mentioned, John Biskowski will be going over a little bit more some of the traffic and pedestrian studies that CME has been working on. CME is our consultant for the bar grant. One of the community visioning aspects is their assistance in helping put together this great presentation tonight, where we can all get together and discuss the future. Obviously, we continue as the Mill Sites Redevelopment Advisory Committee. The same members on that committee are the members of the bar grant subcommittee, so we meet monthly and hear the reports from the consultants and focus on where our efforts are going to be next spent. And I believe that the next speaker will be here this evening to make a few remarks. It doesn't have to be is Brian Steele from Thompson's Economic Development.
I didn't think I'd be up so soon. I'm just here to tell you a little bit about an overview of our EDC support on the development of this mill. We've always been looking into the possibilities of not just saving, but actually utilizing the mill. The group that's together now was involved in the proposal back in 2010 to turn it into a 55-plus retirement community. And we went round and round with discussions and looked at pros and cons to the town, traffic, liens on the buildings, on the property. In the end, we submitted a letter saying that we were in favor of at least going forward and looking into this possibility. Somewhere along the line, that plan failed. And in the meantime, we started in 2016 with our branding and forming an identity for the town. In the back of our minds, we figured that would also be a good thing for any developers coming in to see that we had a vision, or maybe they could share our vision. We had some plans for our town. This current proposal came to the EDC in 2017 through a lot of work from the Board of Selectmen and the planner at the time, Mary Ann. And it seemed like a really good opportunity for us, and we were involved in the meetings to the town. And just a year and a half ago or so, we got more details on how it would have 300 units. It would have space for commercial, and it looked like a good plan to us, so we've supported it all along. We know that a project like this, would never comes to fruition instantly, but we are happy that people involved have kept it going, and it's looking good.
So you're going to hear Mary Ann's name a lot tonight. I am here as the chair of the branding committee that was put together after the branding plan was developed. We really began our work in 2017, and I'm going to read because there's so many important things that I'd like you to be aware of, and if I don't, I'm going to miss half of them. Of course, I should have done the reading. I'm excited you're here. The room is full like it has been at the previous ones. This is an exciting project for our town, and it's really nice to see interested and dedicated people. So that's first. So the branding plan called for a committee to be set up to institute the plan, to take those plans forward, to take the goals that were outlined by that overall committee, which there was a pretty good-sized group that formulated that plan. Then the implementation committee was people who were ready to commit a little bit more time than those overall meetings. And so we began to meet and tweak the plan, really finalize it, and bring it to EDC for a final approval. We did do that. So one of the things that was in the plan that was recommended, we had guidance by NECOG, that's the Northeast Council of Governments, who we were a partner with, and they oversaw that branding project. And so it was through their guidance that some of these things were brought to our attention. We needed a better website. We needed to have social media presence, because if you Google the town of Thompson, you wouldn't find us. And that's important to economic development. Another thing that came up in a lot of our discussions was communication between internal boards and commissions. We kind of were working in silos, is kind of the comments we were getting. So that was one of our goals in the plan, is to bring our committee members together and improve our communication. And what better way than behind a project like this? A project I think we all can support. Another huge part of that was the regs rewrites that Janet mentioned. And we have a fantastic planning and zoning committee. It's been dedicated and meeting, don't quote me, it's got to be over a year, working on those regs to make them more user-friendly for business people to come in and be able to maneuver through that process. And their goal is to have a completed draft by December 31st. So that's a great thing. And last but not least was to promote what we as a group, that larger committee came up with, what are our assets. Our agricultural community, our outdoor recreation and natural resources, and our historic places. Those are the things that kept bubbling up as what we wanted to promote about ourselves. So we did set to work, and in 2019, January, there was a committee within the town hall and some other members from different committees who worked to launch a new website. So you know how government works. You don't snap your fingers and it happens. We met, and we met, and we met. Scott's laughing, he's on that committee. But we felt that we had come up with a great product. I believe it's user-friendly, it depicts our town, I think, in the light that we wanted it to. Shortly after that, I said, okay, committee, we've done the website, we need to get social media on board. That was another goal. And so I believe it was March of 2019, we launched the Facebook. And now you say, oh, big deal, anybody can do that. And that's true, but again, you're working with local government. And the first thing we had to do was set up the policy around that. So that was meeting after meeting after meeting, getting that policy together, then running that through our Board of Selectmen for approval. So now we do have Facebook, so like us on Facebook, share what we share, It's about communicating the good stuff that's happening, so we need all of you on board to do that. We're not in this alone. It's all of us together. We do have Instagram. We're not constantly posting on that, but we're getting better. So if you have Instagram, look for our stuff and share that too. As a part of promoting ourselves, this came up along the way many times, signage. We didn't have a cohesive signage plan or signs in town. And the Historical Society, another group of volunteers we partnered with, took the time, went out and did a survey. And we had every different color, size, shape of signs. So anyway, that became another project that we've taken on and we are working on. Our new planner, Tara, has actually written a grant, and we've received some startup money from Last Green Valley towards that program, which we have some match in EDC to use. So that's quite an accomplishment. Another thing that we've done, working towards promoting, like I said, our agricultural resources, we reinstituted the Farm Passport Program, where residents and non-residents could come, get a passport for our farms and the farms, all these special activities. So it's just a way for us to try to do some of those small things to promote ourselves. The other thing is, again, greening throwing was our overall theme, and at that branding table, the idea of having a community garden came up, and Tara ran with that. She's our new planner. We have a community garden. If you're not aware, 65 Main Street is the site of the old T building. So there are beds that were built by the school, the ground that was leveled by John Lanke to make it smooth for us to start that work. Another project, which we incorporated into the garden project, was an idea of one of our members on branding, Charlene Langlois, to do a pop-up retail shops. And she went to David Eddy and asked, will you do this? Will you build us? We want it for Community Day. I don't know if that's 2 months away, what time frame she was in. And he agreed to do it. The best part. So that made its debut at Community Day, and Tara will cover that a little bit more in her talk. And again, to kick off the garden, we had that pop-up business there, and I want to thank Randy Blackmore because he was involved in that project. He's here somewhere. So some of the smaller things that we're doing as a committee, trying to meet the goals of this plan. And I think it all will support this bigger project. So that's the goal for grants. That's all I want to say. Thank you. I lied because I wanted to end with an invitation to join the branding or EDC. We have become involved in these very critical committees. We have a very small group that's doing the branding work, and we would love additional members. They meet the first Wednesday of every month, and EDC meets the third Wednesday of every month. And I'm sure there's openings on other boards and commissions, and if you have any more free time. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is John Guskowski. Probably about the time the River Mill was originally built, I was the town planner here. So it's good to see some funny faces. It has been a while. And it's actually, it was about 15 years ago I was town planner. My second week, the first selectman Dave Batter at the time said, put on your coat, we're going down the street. And we went down the street and they took down Grosvenor Mill. My second week as town planner in Thompson. That illustrates to me the amazing persistence of hope and the refusal to give up by the town of Thompson and its leadership and all of you who are committed to revitalization and to the idea of Thompson and Groverdale and North Groverdale as really vital communities. So it really is exciting to be here, more than a decade later, still working on these projects. And unfortunately, these projects take a lot of time, but nobody's given up. And people, John and Randy, and I think we're just back there, and still around. We're still fighting for this idea of revitalization of Thompson. So in my new role, not new anymore, but my current role as a planner with CME Associates and a consultant on this project, we're very excited to continue pushing this ball down the road, down the field. So we're going to go through some of the things we've been working on as part of the BAR grant, some potential next steps, and just to kind of give you some sense of what we've been up to. Part of what we were charged with doing is in terms of the community visioning, community revitalization, and outreach, some of the social media stuff that Renee talked about, is preparing public information in a way that is engaging and in a way that grabs your attention. Hopefully some of you guys saw the Facebook or the social media or some of the newspaper ads that we prepared for this meeting. I'm sure everyone's tuned in by word of mouth, but a lot of our role is sort of that wider communication. So one of the first things we did was a sort of a branding video for the project. So a lot of credit for the production of that video goes to my colleague Kelsey Jansanti, who's with us this evening, and who's leading a lot of the efforts on some of our public outreach. And hopefully we'll get to work on the wayfinding and signage stuff that we're hopefully working on with the town in the next couple of months. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other work that we've been doing. I'm going to back up and talk a little bit about the BAR grant itself that Janet introduced. What's really exciting is that the BAR grant, the Brownfields Area-Wide Revitalization Grant, is in many ways a planning grant. And the state and EPA do an excellent job of providing funds for brownfield assessment and cleanup and revitalization, remediation to kind of get brownfields and contaminated properties sort of ready physically to be occupied again, to be actively used. But the problem in many cases is that communities in which these brownfields exist are not necessarily ready, don't have all of the rest of the pieces of the puzzle in place for when those things actually come back online. And the BAR grant and DECD, who was with us, we're very grateful for the receipt of the BAR grant. allows the town to kind of get ahead of these things. And it seems kind of funny that, the mill has been there for over 100 years. We've been trying to revitalize it for decades now, to think that we don't have our act together yet. But in many ways we don't. In the century and a half since the river mill was built, and not breaking any news here by saying North Riverdale is what it is and is the way it is because of the river mill. But two major things happened from then to now, more than two. Cars and zoning, both happened around the same time, the early part of the 20th century, 1910s, 1920s, 1930s. Both of these phenomena sort of took over. And if you look at the zoning in Thompson as it stands right now, if the river mill went away, God forbid, but that was a real danger, not that long ago, you would not be able to rebuild it. If Three Roads went away, Sweet Village, if much of Main Street went away, you would not be able to put it back the way it was, because the zoning does not allow it. And that's not poking a finger at Thompson. Every state, every town in Connecticut is virtually the same that way, is that the kind of community that grew up in a pre-vehicle era, in a pre-automobile era, and in a pre-zoning era, is really not allowed by current zoning. This is going to change a little bit, but part of our goal, as part of the bar grant and as part of the revitalization effort for basically all of this corridor, basically from the split of 12 and 131, just north of the mill, down to the Belding Mill at where 12 and 200 and Blaine Road come in. We're not zoned for what's actually there. They're not zoned for how things were built back then. And so we need to, in order to enable that kind of revitalization, we need to come back to a more creative type of land development or a more flexible type of land development, and that means changing the zoning regulations. So that's a major task that we're working on. But if you spin that forward, zoning is really a case of what you can build and what you can't build and what things need to look like when you build them. It's enabling. And even if you get the right enabling legislation there, the right enabling zoning, to say this is, that the mill could be rebuilt, or the mill can be reused, or you could build a new Three Roads, or you could rebuild Main Street. You could have, a bakery right on Main Street. To get those things in place is one thing, but then what you need to do, spinning that forward, is okay, you put this in place, but then if people actually take you up on it, if John Guppert is successful in revitalizing the mill and bringing more housing and office and dining and all sorts of other exciting things, well, you need to plan for that success as well. And a lot of things that are in place, not zoning related, really more transportation related and connection related, we're not ready for 300 housing units to happen at the mill, because 300 housing units basically means, maybe 1,000 new vehicle trips per day or more from new users, to say nothing of people in other parts of town that may come, say if there's a restaurant or a gym or some sort of office complex at the river mill. You're talking a lot of additional traffic, not only vehicle traffic, but ideally pedestrian and bike traffic. And the idea is to return North Riverdale to, or not really return, but to continue to revitalize North Riverdale as the civic and cultural and activity center of Thompson, and then also prepare for that to even bump up when we're bringing lots of new residents and lots of new activity. And so that's the goal of the consultants and the bar committee, is to sort of think these things forward and not only mechanically get the rules in place to enable that success, but then also to plan for it when it actually hits the ground. So a couple of things when we're going to talk about planning for these additional vehicles or planning for additional activity, we need to sort of look at and again, backing up, the river mill was built before cars were prevalent. And so everything is very close and built to a pedestrian scale, and it's very easy to get from the river mill, or in theory, it would be very easy to get from the river mill to Main Street, to the town hall, to the schools, and ideally down Riverside Drive. But that's, since the intrusion of vehicles, that has become less and less and less easy. And so our goal is to encourage use of North Groverdale and Groverdale as a very pedestrian-friendly and at a very human scale. Some of these aerial photos that you saw from the video, how close things really are. From the high school to the town hall, to the library, to the river mill, to the next Columbus Hall and the pond area. It's all extremely close, but it's not as easy to get there as it used to be before we had state highways running through everything. And so part of the goal of envisioning this brownfield area-wide area is to encourage the pedestrian friendliness, the walkability, the bikeability to increase, as well as dealing with the reality that we are now in a car culture, since this stuff was all built, and we have to accommodate for safe vehicular movements and interactions with pedestrians. And so a number of the things that we did as part of the BAR grant was sort of initial concept plans for how we would improve sort of the most problematic intersections and points of interaction between vehicles and pedestrians when the river mill is back at full steam and operating again as a center of activity. We're going to run through some of these. I'll show you the pictures in just a moment. One of the things that the BAR grant will hopefully allow us to do, and again, this is a planning grant. We're not doing really any construction as part of this. We didn't do any environmental cleanup, which is, again, sort of a unique part of the BAR process. But what it does allow us to do is sort of identify sort of the next steps and get things queued up and teed up for implementation. As Renee said, it's, the planning is one thing, then you've got to implement. But the good thing about the BAR grant is that there's enough resources in there, enough money, frankly, to do some additional work to get a couple of the key next steps queued up for funding. We're going to call that shovel ready. And so one of the projects that we'll show you is the Plain Road Route 12 Riverside Drive intersection, which I don't have to tell you is a problematic intersection. And the hope is we can get engineering drawings done for it. It's obviously a state road, DOT owns Route 12, to get their approval, and then ideally get it fixed up and tightened up in the next calendar year. And again, this is what I said, there are pots of funding out there for construction. Our grant is not a construction grant, but there are things like LOTSIP and TAP and other acronyms from the state or the federal government for transportation improvements. Very frequently, however, the state or the feds will not pay for design. And so the design, the preparation, the getting these things shovel-ready is really the responsibility of the town. And so we want to be creative about using the resources we have available to us, and in specific with the BAR grant, which we're working our way through, to get some of these projects shovel-ready. And so the idea of doing some engineering of pedestrian pathways, intersection crosswalks, some of the intersection redesign that we talked about. And then there are some other things that have sort of popped up in the consciousness of the community. One being the North Groverdale Pond Dam, which there was a recent article, I believe, in the Connecticut Mirror, I don't know if you saw it, but they highlighted sort of the 12 at most risk dams in the state. We got one. And the failure, not to alarm anybody, it's not going to fall down before we get out of the meeting this evening. But the failure of that dam would have really negative implications, particularly not only for the hydrology of the French River and the aesthetics of the mill pond, but also the basically environmental contamination that's being held back by that dam. We want to not mess around with it as much as we can and avoid it and clean stuff up as it relates to the mill. And so recognizing that concern in this very specific area may allow the BAR grant committee and some of these funds to be spent on some initial investigation to figure out what we need to do with that data. So the flexibility for planning and getting projects queued up in the BAR grant is really terrific. So I'm going to flip through these relatively fast so you guys don't give it too much scrutiny, because these are concept plans. But some of the intersections that we are investigating, this is Lane Road and 12, obviously the current situation is, this huge, uncontrolled, unsigned, difficult intersection. And the idea would be just to tighten this up, make sure people know where they're going, tee it up as much as possible, turn it less of a lazy Y into more of a T, so we can control vehicles and make it a much friendlier spot. And then it's a hugely wide right-of-way here, so we can add a lot more green as well and make it a much friendlier situation. This is, I think, probably the easiest from an engineering standpoint, and I think the town's public works group is sophisticated enough that this is something that they can take on without too much assistance from the state. So we have high hopes for this one. In the same area of the Grosvenor-Dale Mill, should the Grosvenor-Dale Mill come back online, and as we tee up Lane Road and Riverside Drive, the access to the Grosvenor-Dale Mill becomes a little bit more problematic, but also an opportunity to kind of use some of this unused space in the sort of triangular park there across Route 200 to improve circulation and then to access sort of a future reuse of the Grosvenor-Dale Mill. And so again, this is doing some preliminary engineering so we can kind of get things on the agenda for construction in the near future. Heading farther north, at the entrance, at the southerly entrance to the River Mill Complex, River Street, which is a private street. Again, if this is going to be hundreds of residential units, you're talking about lots of people going in and out in the morning and the afternoon, and creating conflicts in this, this intersection, which is already somewhat fraught. The big S curve around the mill. And so we looked at potentially going to a one-way in mode, heading northbound into the River Mill Complex. So you wouldn't get a lot of vehicles coming south and interrupting traffic, turning left back onto Riverside Drive. Again, concept level stuff. At the north end of River Street, where it intersects with Buckley Hill Road, again, that's sort of a broad right now, not particularly well coordinated intersection. And it has the added complexity of the multi-purpose bike and walking path that go up along the French River. So we would look to narrow that down, tee it up, do some signage and some pavement treatment to make the multi-use trail much more visible, much more primary, and to improve the crossing of Buckley Hill Road from a sightline and from a pedestrian and bike safety standpoint. And then probably the most complicated of them is where Riverside Drive intersects with Buckley Hill, where you're dealing with bad sightlines, you're dealing with slopes, you're dealing with weird turning movements, where currently people heading south can very easily cut across the path of people that are trying to turn. Not a particularly great intersection at the best of times. And so the idea here, again, envisioning for success, hundreds and hundreds of more vehicle trips per day, is improving that intersection, creating maybe some passing lanes, some dedicated turning lanes, and maybe adjusting the grading a little bit so your sight lines are improved. Again, all of these are at the concept level, and it is up to the bar grant with available funds. We will be able to bring at least one, possibly multiple of these projects forward to a higher level of engineering design, to get them ready for either town funds for construction or to queue them up for a state grant for transportation construction grants. And we work closely with Public Works, the First Selectman's Office, and particularly NEPOG, the Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments, who distributes a lot of these transportation funds. So the idea is planning for the future and getting things ready for the success that we believe will come as this project goes forward. So I'll turn it over there, but we'll leave it over for questions as we move on. Who's up? Sebastian.
Hi everyone, I'm Sebastian Rodriguez. I am the EPA project manager for this. So I just want to say just a few words. There are a a few environmental issues on the site consistent with a property that's seen heavy industrial use for at least 100 years. As part of the development, Redevelopment LLC is aware of these issues and is taking steps to address them. He's worked really closely with the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection as well as EPA, and together we are coming up with some solutions that are pleasing to all of us and that will remain protected for human health and the environment. And we've been working with him and we'll continue to work with him. So, Mark, do you have anything else to say?
Thanks, Sebastian. I'm Mark Lewis. I'm the Brownfields Coordinator with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And it's good to be back in this room again, talking about the River Mill. I'm personally very enthusiastic about this project. I see a lot of brownfields projects across the state. This has to be at or near the top of the list as far as just a really successful project. And a lot of it is owed to the people in this room, just the energy. All of the successful brownfields projects have a person or a group of people that are really committed to making things move forward, even sometimes when it seems like it's going to be really heavy to get things moving forward. And I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to push this project forward. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Benu Chandy. I am the Deputy Director of the Office of Brownfields at the Department of Economic and Community Development, or DECD. As Janet and John mentioned many times, this project is happening because of the grants from us. And these grants are very competitive, and Thompson won, and you won against big cities who applied for these grants, and 2 or 3 main reasons why you won. First of all, it's the community. The application or the interview. The people from the community come to the interview. Your whole application was, we felt your heart and soul was in the project. And not only that, because of your, putting your heart and soul into the project, you were able to get Mr. Gumpert, believe in this project. You got his heart and soul, and that's how you got our heart and soul. So we are going to be committed to this project. No doubt about that. We don't have funding right now, but we're going to make sure that this project moves forward. And so I just wanted to share my thank you.
John Gumpert will be speaking next, but before he does, I just want to really reiterate how important it has been to this project to have looks like Mark Lewis and Sebastian Rodriguez and Peter Kim. I mean, they have spent so many hours in meetings and pouring over regulations for years, and their participation has been just fantastic, and we're really, really grateful for that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Gumpert. I'm a member of the River Mill Redevelopment. I come here tonight just to update everybody on the progress that we've made. A lot has been spoken tonight about environmental. When you're changing the use of a mill like this from industrial use to ultimately, at least a portion of it is residential, there's a lot of hurdles to jump and a lot of challenges to meet. A big part of that is understanding what those are. So if you know what you have to fix, then it's fairly quick. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but you can get those items fixed, but it's not as easy to determine what those items are. So we've been working for the last 2 years, really, to identify exactly what needs to be done to the property. We feel like we, at this point, have got our hands agreement, in concept anyway, with one of the legacy corporations that was responsible for some of the contamination on the site. They're not responsible for all the contamination, but some of it. So we've reached an agreement with them whereby we will take over the investigation. There's still probably a year's worth of investigation that's needed as we institute some of the remedies and get it ready for the next stage of our development. It is a big accomplishment, though, to get everybody in the room saying the same thing. A year and a half ago, we did not have a plan to move forward that you could articulate and put a timeline to. Today, we do. So you've got just a beautiful structure that you're not going to find many places. And we're looking to redevelop it through historic tax credits, so we're going to keep the historic nature of it intact. We're looking to find a useful use for it. So in my experience, I've done a number of mills, some larger than this, some smaller than this. We've got a track record of really building quality product that people enjoy. And the first thing we do when we approach a project like this is a market study to test the demand, to make sure that if we do something, it works, or at least we have our best chance of it working. So we did that early on. The next stage of it was to really get down into the environmental and see just what had to happen in order to bring this back. And as I say, tonight I can tell you we're very close to having that roadmap complete. EPA and DEEP has been great to work with. The Rexler companies have been great to work with. All of our partners have been great to work with on it. So I don't consider it a long process so far. It's just a normal process. When you're taking something that was an industrial use and trying to turn it into a residential use, it is a process. I will say, with the bar grant and some of the community involvement that we've got, that is what I'm used to in these type of projects. They bring a lot of energy, a lot of different people put a lot of different effort into the project. So it is not unusual for something like a bar grant to be going on in the community to make improvements to roads and other things. I'll also say that we often see improvement where someone just opens a restaurant close to the project. We're bringing a bunch of new residential units in. Someone will open a restaurant, and that means a tremendous amount. Someone will open a coffee shop. Someone may open a coffee shop, and a portion of this bill that we think makes sense. There will be some public space in this bill. So I can tell you, we will have a wedding venue. And I use it just the term wedding venue, but there will be places in this bill for folks to hold certain events, whether it's birthdays or what have you. So we really look forward to advancing this project to the next stage. I think you'll find that we are very transparent. We show everybody exactly what we think we're going to do. We take feedback from the community. We look for the community to be involved in helping us design the best project we can. Community needs are unique to the community, and so we like to fit in with that. And then beyond that, we just have a great asset. It is really a great structure to work with, and we look forward to continuing to move through it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm the rug that's going to tie the whole room together. I got more. And I'm not going to stand behind the podium because it's too far away from you. My name, for those of you who don't know me, and most of you do, Renee says I still need to amplify myself, which is shocking to me. But it's my gear, so I guess I can. Okay, so, oh yeah. Also, my middle name is Muad'Dib. There's another one for each other. Anyway,
So for those of you who don't know me, most of you do, my name is Tara Penn. I am, since April of this year, your new Director of Planning and Development. I owe a great debt, by the way, to Marianne Chinati, who is here today. And she did not have to be here, right? She's working for another town now. But this was important to her, and I wanted to acknowledge that she's here. So I've been doing this for 7-8 months. I'm not a planner. I am a musician. Why do I bring that up? Because this stuff is not that mysterious, right? We're hearing a lot of stuff that is maybe abstract, because you don't think about it every day. Oh, we're talking about zoning, right? Zoning is not dry. Zoning is super, super exciting because it affects you directly, right? You think about things that happen at town hall, you think about things that happen in government in general, and a lot of it is stuff that takes place over 10 years, takes place over 5 years. The zoning is what's going to enable you to have business out of your house, or to enable Main Street to have a mix of buildings that have shops on the first floors, and right? So that's real. I know why I'm here, even though I'm a musician. I'm here because I moved here, and I decided I was interested, and I got involved. And there's not a single person in here who couldn't effectively do some variation of that same thing. Be interested and get involved. So I'm going to tie some of these things together that we've been talking about. We're going to kind of go from macro to micro, right? Things that we've been doing, things that are going on. And by macro to micro, I mean, well, we just talked about zoning. That's overarching. That's the whole town. It affects you directly, but it affects everybody else too. Right? And that's something to think about. When we talk about the progress we're making, rewriting those zoning regulations, it's because the people on that commission, who are volunteers who got involved, thinking about ways to make their neighbors' lives better, and their own, right? And that's a big thing. So that's macro. Another macro thing is the intersections, right? Sidewalks. I've been on a sidewalk. But if you can walk from your neighborhood in the Main Street loop there's a sidewalk that goes up to our Father's table. Maybe you don't have to get in your car, drive there. Maybe you'll walk by your neighbor's house, right? Maybe you'll wave at your neighbor. Sidewalks are a big deal, and they affect you individually, right? So you're narrowing in. And then what's next? And we're going to talk about this wayfinding thing in a minute. Essentially, wayfinding is a fancy term that says signs and stuff that tell you where you are and how to get someplace else, right? We're going to get down to the micro level with that in a minute. So what's next after that? Renee was talking about some of the community development projects that we've been doing. And now here are things where volunteers are coming in making things happen. She talked about the community garden. That was our first one. And that came about because in those EDC meetings, in the branding committee meetings, we said, let's get a project that will encapsulate the ideas we've been talking about, that green and growing brand. Well, what's more green and growing than a community garden? And we can do it with low buy-in, and it will have salutary effect across the neighborhood, right? Because it gets people out. We came up with a plan, we wrote a couple grants, we got some funding. The beds are installed, they're going to be planted in the spring. We've got volunteers, at least one of them is here tonight. I see Alyssa, right? People got excited about something revitalizing the area. So those are there, and that led to what else can we do with this site? When we were talking about this project, I went to Ken and I said, look, we want to do a community garden, but where are we going to do it? Where's the place? So we got a vacant building that the town owns right there. We got a vacant building. Why do we have a vacant building that the town owns? Why is there nothing in it? So that led to the whole history of the 65 Main building. We have a plan, now that we've got that garden there, to reclaim, rehabilitate that building, put it into community use. Small business center on the first floor, an affordable unit apartment on the second and third floor, probably as a work-live arrangement. It's all still being formed. We're writing grants, we've got it phased. These are things that are real, that real people will benefit from, will be involved in. It's a project. Volunteers did this. It's a part of this area. Because this mill, 10 years, right? Which is reasonable. In the meantime, we still live here. We're still doing things. So when this mill is ready to go, we haven't just waited. Right? We've done something for ourselves. Low level of investment, low level of buy-in, low barriers. In the zoning thing, we're lowering the barriers even further. Right? So, narrowing in. Another little project, we talked about the little pop-up shops. Right? Because we talk about mixed-use development, there's no inventory of buildings. There's no real mixed-use buildings left. We're not going to construct a bunch of big mixed-use buildings right now. So Charlene and I batted this around for a while. When we say the pop-up shops, they're little temporary seasonal buildings. We've got a group of kids from UConn who are doing a design project. We're going to roll it out at the end of this academic year. We've got the prototype that Dave Eddy built that was at Community Day. Some of you saw it. That's going to be a low level of buy-in, right? I think I've got a great product. I don't have a store to put it in. Let me try it for 3 months. That's something we can do for each other. Low investment, easy to do, and we're doing it. So narrowing in. So now, here's another project we talked about. We do have some grant money that we received for a wayfinding program. Big deal, it's a bunch of signs. But we've got some really great stuff in town. Some of the other stuff we've been doing with EDC and branding is talking about promoting ourselves for what we have. Right? What we have are some outdoor amenities, great trail system, some historic features. So the design program that we have some funding for is going to move forward, and we have a plan for it. I'm going to get more to the plan. We're going to skip the next slide, I think. And this is something that you can get involved in tonight. I'm going to advance it to the next one. So we're going to play a video for you here. Now, when we talk about we have some funding that's been committed and we have some coming in, we have a star in the room. CME has put together a proposal for us on how we can design this sort of unified system of signs and stuff to tell you where you are, where you can go, and what's interesting about it. Right? So there's a little shortfall there. I'm going to let the video play, and then I'm going to tell you how the video relates to what you can do tonight, right now, here, to be a part of it.
right now we're in front of the unlarmed memorial building. Unlarmed was noted historian in Newton County. We're coming up with the 100th anniversary of the earliest festival. So the site we're at right now is the 1891 490 wreck site. It's located on the Airline Trail here in Wisconsin. The curve in the road is the site where the train tracks went over the top of the original highway. So John will show us a picture of what that looked like from 1891, so you will see it. Now, the Airline Trail is a connection from Willimantic to up to places up further in Massachusetts. We also have the Tri-State Market that's located a healthy way out in the walk from here. That's not marked with any sign in the road. So where we are right now is the original site of the Mechanicsville School. They were little village schools. There were 21 at one time in Thompson, and this one is the site of the original Mechanicsville. A second school is built just down the road. Behind me, we have a picnic area. This picnic area is today what remains of the original Mechanicsville School. But behind us, we have two notable sites. On the left-hand side, we have the Kenny store. Kenny was a post office, postmaster, and that store today resides up at Toronto Memorial High School as a museum, National Museum. Also, on the other side is the origins and the remains of the Mechanicsville Mill itself. All right, we're on Route 12. We're in the North Cloverdale Historic District. The district is very significant because it has a remarkably preserved mill, and it also has some of the housing. So in front of me, we have 3 rows, we have the Sweet Village on the opposite side, we have Greek Village. These were all houses, this was all housing for the interior workers when they came in from Canada, when they came in from Italy, and Greece.
Okay, so what's this on the bottom? Make your contribution today. So I mentioned we have some funding, right? Some grant funding, some money EDC put aside, some money Trails is putting aside, but we come up about $4,000 out of 20 grand short overall. That link that you saw there to iob.com, which sounds like it would be hard to remember, except it stands for In Our Backyard, iob.com. If you were to go to this link, traveling through Thompson, you have the ability to donate a certain amount of money to make up that shortfall so we can get that design program underway. Now, there's more to that. That organization, IOB, is partnering with Sustainable Connecticut on a challenge match. They will double any contribution. So if you put in $10 with your credit card, you go and you look, and it'll come out as $20 on the countdown. Right, so that is a way that you can individually, on a micro level, contribute to something that benefits the town overall. Right, so I would encourage you all to do that. That's going to be live until December 31st, and they are tax deductible. Whoa. And we'll be dropping some of the matching funds in there as well from some of the other sources, so you can see that sort of progress that we make. These are all things that we can do for ourselves and for each other while we wait on this progress, right? Because this is a great project. It's going to go forward. It's going to bring all those things that we want from that building. But we are still responsible for ourselves as well, and making our own lives better in the meantime. So when people come and look at that building, when it's done, 10 years from now, they're going to go, it's not just a great building, it's a great neighborhood, right? It's a great town. I like it here. I like it here, I'm staying. We're all staying. I know why I'm here. You're here because you want to be excited too. You're here because you want to imagine a better neighborhood, community, town, better outcomes. You don't just have to imagine it, you can be a little part of it. So I encourage you to do that. There's other people here who need to be acknowledged tonight, by the way. Miguel Rivera from DOH. Where's Miguel? He was here somewhere. Did he just leave? Oh my God! He came down to see the project. Rebecca Trevera is here from Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation, which is a long thing to say. She has taken an interest in it. Michael Jordan is here from Senator Blumenthal's office. Did Emma King make it from Representative Courtney's office? No, she's done. Okay. And May's going to be here later, but she was coming from another job. So these are people who came here essentially for the same reason that you did. They came here for the information, but they also came here to get excited. So get excited. The stuff's not abstract. It's not dry. It's all real and it's all for you. There you go. And we're going to have questions and answers now. You can ask any question of anybody who has spoken tonight. If you think you will not be heard easily, come grab the mic. It doesn't bite. I'll put it right here. Come on, somebody's got a question. Yeah.
I'm not going to do a question, but I am going to do some statements. Use the perfect word, imagine. I don't know about anyone in this room, but I've been imagining this mill in the end for 20 years, if not more. And no disrespect to anybody, I want to get excited about it too. But I also want to see a plan. I want to see goals. I want to see some type of tangible thing. We can talk about our small projects and whatever, but I think we have to understand what kind of town Thompson wants to be. We were industrial. Do we want to be a combination of bedroom community and tourism? If we do, I'm fine with that. But I can tell you, that mill, and there was a person I think that made a statement on their Facebook page. They don't think that Worcester's going to impact our area. Well, what's happening? If you listen to Winnie today, Barney Snay said the 18 new buildings that they got last year were all out of state. They're coming from Massachusetts. That project in Worcester is going to help our area for this complex. I would also like to see a little bit of a hotel in there. There's no hotel for people that have wedding guests coming in. Yeah, you got to go to Danielson or Auburn or whatever, but if you want to do a mixed-use thing, I think we have to look at what are our assets and what do we want for our town. I serve on the Board of Ed. We can't afford our education. And if we lose our education, nobody's going to want to come to our town. And we have a hard enough time now scraping funds to do the basic education. I'm a product of this town. Grew up single mom, raised nine of us. If it wasn't for the people backing us as a family within the community in all aspects, I wouldn't be who I was today. And I can tell you, I'm looking positive to this project, but I don't want to wait 10 years, because sometimes 10 years, I just checked. No disrespect to John, but he was here in September 27, 2017. I haven't seen much happen personally since that time, and I know you've got brownfield grants and all that. But what I look at when I come to this building for meetings, I look at those towers falling apart. There's more trees growing out of them. Now the front windows on this side, things are blowing out. We're losing that building, and it's tough to watch it. I don't want to see anything with that building go away. But I also know there's a lot more bigger things we need to do. One is to clean up some of the areas of the town. We've got to attract people. It's 3 years and we've had a machine end at our exit. 3 years, my mother, who's 80-something years old, she's come and said, why do we keep looking at the same old stuff? I want to see progress. I don't want to be a curmudgeon about it, but I do want to see goals. I want to see people giving us updates on these goals. I don't want to come to a meeting here another 5 years and be in the same position we're in. Because that's where we were 4 years ago with the signage and the branding and all that. And I know it takes time, I get that, but I also know we don't have the funds to support education. I don't know how we're going to do some of these other projects that we need to do in town without the help. I want to see John Sharp get a new fire station. Okay? Our town needs a new fire station. We need a lot of stuff here. In 25 years, our tax base has deteriorated. And I want to see good projects like this happen. We need to look at our assets. What are they? The Thompson Speedway, Fort Hill Farms, right? They may be small things, but they are what bring people to our area. The That school museum on the hill is a multi-million-dollar museum. We could be using aspects like that, our trails, the dam, all of that stuff. We need to market in a very positive way, all the assets. You cannot be a destination town if you don't know what your assets are. If you know your assets, then we know what we can do with everything in this town. It's not the town that it was, just like education in our town is not what it was 20, 25 years ago. It's very different. But I'm telling you, Worcester with this new ballpark and what they're doing there is going to trickle down, because I see it in my mother's neighborhood. Houses are being bought by Massachusetts people because they can't afford up in Worcester. But I can tell you, if we don't get our school system intact, we don't clean up areas and get things that are attractive, they're not going to come to us. They're going to go to Putnam. Okay, they're going to go to the other outlying towns that have things like that. So I want to see positive stuff, but I don't want to come here. And I know there's a lot of people in this room thinking the same thing, and maybe they're not wanting to speak up to say it. But I can tell you, the goodness that occurs here in this library with Allison, and we have to support this stuff. Those are all the things that make us a community. I'm raising my hand. I'm going to do whatever I can. And if I can join your branding committee, I'm going to do it. Because I want to see we all have to participate in some way. But again, John, if you're taking on that project, I'm going to watch it. And I don't want to see it take 10 years and then that 10 years goes to 15. My mother who's 87 said, I'm not going to live to see that building be redone. And she's lived in this town since she was 19 now. So I want to see it for my future generations so that that is not going to go anywhere. Thank you.
So I'm so glad she ended all of that, because I think most of us can agree with a lot of what Val said. There's a lot of frustration. But I'm so glad that she said she's joining the committee. On the branding committee, we have several members who are like on 3 and 4 committees. And I know you do good work and lots of things. I'm not pointing fingers. But like Tira said, we need to do it. Not the 5 of us on branding. We need to do it. We need to come together. I know we have made progress. We partnered with the Historical Society and Recreation and the library, Ag Commission. We've done the outreach. We are working, but we need more worker bees. It cannot be left to the 5 branding people or the few people who are on this committee or in that committee. We need more of you to really make what she said happen. We have a budget issue for 5 referendums later. I get her point. We need to work on that. Not elected officials only. Obviously, that does not solve the issues. It's the residents and the taxpayers who need to come together and do the work. I'm in the same boat as you. I can sit here and preach to everybody else, right? And I love you.
Tara, I want to say just one more thing, because I've watched Delphinos, I've watched the project in Putnam across from Winnie since the time they've started the renovation. One of the things I think people also fail to recognize, these road issues that you want to do when you have state crossing town road stuff, the town road people can get things done, but the state takes a lot longer. So just because the town is ready doesn't mean the state's going to be ready, and that's a whole other very complex issue. When the state is not ready, when the town is ready to do that intersection change, it may take another 6 months after you're ready to do it. So those are things you've got to look at. It's complexity.
Well, I'll respond to two of the things you brought up, Val. First, regarding the, well, it's unfair, Val didn't have a mic.
So just regarding a couple of things you said. First, it's too bad that Miguel Rivera just left, because the reason he was here is because he and John Sharp and I sat down to talk about finding ways to fund either a major retrofit or a rebuild of community fire. So that is something that we're already working on out of the Planning and Development Office. Speaking of which, the intersections as a part of the BAR grant is something that Janet and John and I are going to sit down, come up with the actual the engineering plans, and then write the lots of grant that will make that possible. And that is a state program, and it is funded, and it comes down in a certain way. But those are real plans that are going to move forward. So that is why we bring them up tonight. You know, your anxieties are noted, and everybody has them. But we can address our anxieties by imagining our future and then working toward it. And that's exactly what we came here to do tonight. So, Charlie.
We have an unwritten motto on the branding committee. It says, I'm not going to go to meetings just to go to meetings. And as Val points out, we've got energy, but we're not getting things done. I get really frustrated at how long it takes to get something through the process. First Wednesday of next month at the town hall, 6 o'clock. And we're moving this process along. There's more activity in the last 2 years than I've seen since 2005 when I moved to this town. So I applaud you and I welcome you. I agree with a lot of what you said, and we have ideas. We can refine them. We can make them better. And 10 years from now, when this project reaches full occupancy, as Kira says, people will be coming, looking at it, and saying, "Hey, this is a nice."
Now, John came all the way up here from south of the Mason-Dixon line, so does anybody have any questions for him while he's here and we have him? Delpha?
I don't necessarily have a question, just really welcome. You have a lot of challenges ahead of you. You're a phenomenal developer, and I think that people do not realize what goes into mill redevelopment. And I live in Thompson. I only work in Putnam. So one of the greatest assets to everybody's comments that we've made this evening are the people sitting in this room. When we talk about mill redevelopment, and I am a huge advocate of redevelopment of mills, that's part of my job. And when you talk about mill redevelopment, no one will ever understand it until they've gone through it. Just the administrative process of mill redevelopment, not only engineering, environmental, best use, mechanicals. We're working on a gem in Putnam, Cargo Falls Mill. I started that project with the help of our state partners, and it would not be done today without DECT, Department of Housing, Green Energy Bank. To put all those projects together is monumental. So 10 years is infancy in mill redevelopment. It really, really is. And I was at a meeting here a couple years ago, the last one we had, and just talking about all the projects that have happened since then to connect to the River Mill project. It's about infrastructure. Infrastructure is your most important part of the planning because you have to develop something. Thompson doesn't have the typical Main Street that many, many communities have. We have to build that. We will not be a Main Street. We have to look at, to Val's point and also to Renee's point, we have to look at what we're best at. We have to build a village. So that village includes the infrastructure, the gardens, things for people to go to because we don't have that natural infrastructure. So, to the developer, coming up here, working as hard as you are to build that momentum and things like that. If you don't have a developer on board, a great developer on board, because we can't do it. It will just be a fallow project without working with him, and it's not for the faint of heart. It was my first project that I started 11 years ago, and I don't know if you've seen the development today, and it's half the size of what you're doing. So, don't get discouraged. Whatever has happened 2 years ago, from what we're talking about tonight is monumental. But it not only is building the village, but it takes people, what's the saying? great new people, we have great people who got it off the ground, so congratulations to us.
So I'll just speak on the time and just to get everybody comfortable with that. 10 years is not a long process for a project like this. It'll take every bit of 10 years. When we did the Lorraine Mill, which is about the same size as this, my wife would say, "What in the world are you doing? What is with that project? Is that thing ever going to start?" And then when we finished Lorraine Mill, my wife said, "I knew that was going to be a great project." So they do take a long time. This is a usually large project. A component of your community is not the whole community. So all the other work that everybody is doing with the branding and what have you, all plays a dividend. And when we're done with this project, there will be other dividends that get paid. So when someone opens a restaurant in a house somewhere, and everyone comes to that restaurant, that's part and parcel to what we're trying to do. So there's a lot of different pieces that come to doing this. You know, I got involved in this project when a demolition contractor called me and said, "Hey, there's a salvage operation right tearing this building down. Why don't you go look at it? I don't think they should tear it down. It's probably worth saving." And I came up to look at it, and I thought, "You've got to be kidding me. This thing is fabulous." When we did the Lorraine Mill, I walked that building with the Preservation North Carolina, which is a huge preservation outfit that that building donated to. We walked it for 20 minutes, and I looked at the president and said, "Okay, we'll do it." And he looked at me and said, "We'll do it?" I said, "Yeah, look, this is worth saving. There's no way we're going to let this go." And he said, "You're going to use historic tax credits?" I said, "Absolutely, we'll use historic credit." 10 years later, we had it done. Now, we went through a financial crash. We had a bunch of lenders go out of business before we get it closed. So that might have been some extenuating circumstances. But still, within 10 years, we had it done. It may not take 10 years, but I can tell you it takes time. And I can also tell you, we are all making real progress towards getting that done. And all these meetings and all the things everyone's doing. So I'm not discouraged a bit. I think it's a great process. And yeah, there's some broken windows in the mill, and we're managing the mill and operating the mill, but we're just mothballing it until we have a real project to do. So don't be discouraged, and don't think it's taking too long. It really isn't. It takes us enough time.
Hi, yeah, you bring up a lot of a good point about, you talk about the debt, about the financing of it. I'd be curious to know about the debt structure, your internal rate of return, the capital investment, how the tax credits work, and what's your investor contribution, your contribution, what the time on project will be, or exit strategy. So I'm just curious, because I don't have all the background.
It's an interesting point. So a lot of what I do is position the project so that you can attract investors. Those are people that put their money in. And then attract folks that will guarantee the debt on the project. It's all private. So you've got a structure, so when we drone on and on about environmental, we want to tie that off. Well, we have to tie that off. You can't attract investors. The first phase of this project will probably be a $60 million project. That's a huge number. And you're not going to, that's going to take a huge financial institution, which has all types of rules and requirements as to what they'll do. And they spend a lot of time saying, no, it doesn't work. So you have to really position the asset so that you can get that done. That's an enormous task to do, beyond the design, beyond everything else. So we have to do that. As far as we have state credits, tax credits, historic credits, we have federal historic tax credits. We've got private equity, and we've got debt. And that's really the capital stack for the project. As far as the internal rate of return, I don't know, I can really tell you. What gives us the most comfort is we know that the product, when it's built, is in high demand. People really like the units, so they'll come live in them, and we don't have a problem with occupancy, we don't have a problem attracting people. So that gives you great comfort. Everything can't be a gamble. You've got to have some things nailed down. there is no set IRR that we're looking for necessarily.
So just to clarify also, follow on, so your firm tees up the deal, that's your role. You set it up, so then the financing is going to come from, you'll arrange that?
We'll arrange that. We'll hire a property management company to manage it. Historically, we've kept ownership of the project over a long period of time.
Okay.
So I can tell you, I'm selling the first project I developed probably 18 years ago as condominiums. Same type of process.
So you're looking at about a capital expenditure of about 80 or 90 bucks a foot for this property?
No, it wouldn't be that. We're not looking at doing, the first phase would be 60 million. That's the overall project. I'm not sure I can measure it yet what that would be. But it's considerably more than $100 a foot.
Are you the one that goes to look for the investors, or is it a combination of you and the town?
I'd be the one going to look for the investors. Certainly happy for the town to participate as well. But, I'm the one that is teeing it up and going to the various private investors as well as the financial institutions.
So if the first phase is 60 million, what's the whole project?
That's a good question. It's north of 100 million for sure. How much north, I don't know. Depends on how we, design it as it goes.
Mary Ann?
I'm the outsider here tonight, but that's my baby. And I just think it's wonderful, the steps that have been taken, and how far this has come, and how far the community has come and wrapped its arms around itself, because everything put together is going to make such a vibrancy, it's unreal. And John's commitment and his work and commitment with NISRAC and DECD and DEP and EPA and the town is absolutely wonderful, and without everybody, this wouldn't happen. And every time I walk through that mill, you just get goosebumps because you can see it done. And I'm just so proud of everybody, and it's just wonderful.
Renee, somebody else had a question I'm just asking for them. So we're talking about a 10-year completion. So construction start, is there an estimated time on that? That might help alleviate some of the
I think we'll be through the environmental largely in 2020. So in 2021, we would target to try to start the project, assuming nothing comes up. Things can come up, and if they do, so be it. But I think 2021 late, likely, makes sense.
If I'm remembering correctly, that's pretty much what you said from the outset.
I think so. I think so. I was
environmental.
I forget where I was, but I was talking about one of these projects, and the city council rep says, well, nothing ever goes the way you guys say it would go. You never meet your deadlines. This is probably true. We typically don't, but we try. So we try to manage to a schedule. This one we knew we had some environmental heavy lifting to do, so we factored that in. But we're to the next stage now to start getting some of the institutions involved, because we feel like we have a roadmap to clearing that hurdle. And as I said, when we started the project, we started with a demand study to say that if we do all this stuff, it works. And that's really the key. So there is a method to how we do it. We've got some talented architects about to take and give us some next generation drawings. One other person I would mention here is Wayne Duncan, who's been working with us on the environmental side. He is our key to getting that done. He's done tremendous work.
Does that still have an intact hydro system, and is it viable for use?
I don't think so. Interestingly, there's not enough head pressure at the dam to actually make that work. I don't know enough about it. I'd like to figure out a way to make it work. They make more efficient hydro systems today. But I don't know enough about it. I've got a number of bills with hydro systems in them. If you beat the people that run them, you think if that person ever leaves, this will never work again. That's the way I kind of feel about it. But if we can figure out how to make it work, I'd love to do that. But there's some challenges with the dam. There's some challenges with building up head pressure at the dam. You'd almost have to raise the dam a little bit in order to create the head pressure. I think that's going to cause more problems. Plus, you're running into some angry people that I don't know, the fish groups and everybody else.
Do you strive at all to use like solar power or anything like that? Be more sustainable?
Occasionally, yes. I mean, we use, we're typically doing all electric. It's high efficiency, or certainly better efficiency than most. So if we do solar panels, there's got to be a grant system in place to pay down some of the cost, the initial cost of that. We did look at doing that on a large bill in North Carolina. We created about a meg of power, a couple acres of solar panels on the roof. We didn't actually get that done because Duke Power ran out of the grant programs. But yeah, we look at some of that. And then the other side of it is those buildings are so massive that they almost heat and cool themselves. Once you get them heated, they don't really lose heat. Once you get them cooled, they don't lose cool because they're such large structures. The walls are 7 feet thick at the basement or what have you. So they're really interesting buildings from that standpoint. So they're very energy efficient. That's just the nice part about it.
Just from a big picture perspective, the absolute greenest thing that we can do is keep that building up.
Yeah.
The embedded energy that it took to build and maintain that thing for over 100 years, to respect PEP and to keep it intact is the definition of green.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Come on, guys, we got 25 more minutes before we have to go to the Before we let Val ask another question, does anybody else have a question or comment? All right, Val, you're up again.
What kind of strict adherence does the preservation grants have relative to like what was original to the building and what you can take off and not take off?
They're pretty particular. Now, we're not adding a lot of things to the building. We're keeping it pretty much what you see is what you get. They're not as particular on the interior, so we can do interior finishes to units and so forth. But from the exterior, you're really keeping what you have.
If I may, just to perhaps address your concerns, so again, Renee Treberry from the Connecticut Center for Historic Preservation. What you'll find is that the State Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service, when John's firm prepares their tax credit applications, etc., all of those plans will be very closely reviewed by the Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service. This is a National Register property, so it will be eligible for both state and federal tax credits. So that's a 25. Are you an opportunity to from here? No. That's a 25% on the qualifying expenses at the state level, and at 20% at the federal level. So that's significant. But it is a very thorough review process. There are several stages to it in the application. You have to present your plans, your budget. You also then have to present afterwards to get the credit. So from that perspective, there will be, oversight on and standards compared to the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Including timelines, right? Like you get money based on completion of a certain amount of things, you get money.
Yeah, it's up.
You have timelines.
The tax credit is not an upfront. It's something that once you prove to the satisfaction of both of those agencies that the work has been done to the Secretary of the Interior standards and to the program that is presented and agreed on, then that's when the tax credit comes back in, but it can be used as equity because I don't know what you're gonna, how you're gonna arrange this, but oftentimes that can be syndicated so that it's you get investors who are willing to pay on the basis of knowing that they can get the tax credit.
And we'll have a very complicated and thought out tax credit policy effectively for how to work with that. But all the projects that we do, all the historic projects we go through the state and the federal credits. So we're very comfortable and we're very used to doing it. And frankly, we wouldn't do anything to exit the building anyway. I mean, it's nothing we can, it's something you want to preserve and not change. Yes.
Is it unreasonable to expect that the entire building is going to survive, or
Yes.
I'm not hanging on to the whole building myself?
No, I don't believe in tearing the buildings down. I've been on projects where people say, let's tear half of it down and do this or that. I just keep the entire building. It's an asset. There's no reason to take it down.
Right. You have 3 phases of that building.
Yes.
Right. Now, my question is that some of the phases are not well done. Some are very well done. That's why I was just asking if you have plans now to save the 2 major phases and maybe not save the third. I'm just curious what the plan is.
Very little demolition. We would look to save virtually everything. And, maybe some is better than others, but I can tell you it's all great from my perspective. And rather than trying to, when we start taking things down, then we get very involved with the state agencies and the federal agencies. It's not easy to do. And I just do not do that. We were talking about, someone mentioned we might take down a 915 building. There's just no reason to do that. We're gonna reuse what we have. If you want to take a building down, go take some other building down. It's easy to do. Thank you.
Al, do you happen to know the estimated value of the property today and what you project the estimated value of the property to be when you're done?
Not really. I think it's tough to figure out what the value of the building is just because of, it always amazes me how little buildings are worth the bigger they are. So, for example, you can buy an old hospital that was in use 2 years ago, and now they'll give it to you for $400,000. That's a $400 million hospital. So I don't think there's a way really to accurately, you can get appraisals on them, and not worth very much. What it'll be worth in the future, hundreds of millions, 100 million, 150 million, I don't know. That's my kid's problem.
So we keep talking about 10 years down the road, full occupancy. When do you easily see first occupancy, first real occupancy?
Well, let's assume we started in 21. Then you're looking at 18 months, and you'll have occupancy, initial occupancy. The great thing about it is, once you do phase 1, you've saved the asset. Now, we're going to go through economic cycles, we might go through a recession, whatever, you still have saved the asset. Because once you prove demand for that phase 1, you can do phase 2 whenever the economy lets you do it. So that's really the key. If you get phase 1 done, then nobody can show up and say, well, there's not demand for the product, as you point to a wait list. Now, if banks aren't lending, which occasionally they don't, well, you're not going to do phase 2 until they start, but they will start. So that's the full occupancy 10 years. It just depends on what happens. But for me, it's getting the first phase done. Getting the first 60 million in and stabilizing the asset. Now, we have some commercial tenants in the building now. So once we get the first phase done, we'll relocate those commercial tenants, and that will stabilize the balance of the asset. So that's it there. So you can see lots of patience. Because you just don't know what's going to happen. You can't predict everything, but you can be thoughtful and diligent about how you go about preserving a huge asset like that. That's all we're trying to do.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Bill.
Are the environmental concerns mainly on the outside, or do you have some on the inside as well?
They're mainly on the the outside, the building itself acts as a cap for certain environmental things. And we put, just as a course of business, we'll put a vapor barrier in on the interior, so if there are any problems, we would capture that vapor barrier and exit it through the roof. So I think at an old industrial plant, you always have concerns, and so you go through, modern technology that will address those concerns.
I could. Just on a side note, so this afternoon, I had today off and I got together with some former co-workers. I used to work down in Rhode Island. And we went and had lunch at this new little restaurant in Cumberland, Rhode Island, right near the Blackstone River. And it's in an old mill building. And that mill building had some businesses in it, kind of like ours. And now it's kind of flourishing. The bottom floor has a coffee shop, a restaurant, some professional space, and on the other end of the building they've started probably 3 stories, and they're doing something on the 2nd and 3rd floor, renovating or doing something in there. I've been gone a little over 6 years. So 6 years ago, that mill building looked a lot like ours. I was surprised to see today how far it's come in just 6 years. I don't know what they had for behind the scenes or environmental concerns, any of that stuff. All I know is I really hadn't been down in that area in quite some time. And I just happened to meet up with some guys for lunch, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, they've taken on a life of their own. I mean, they really do. Once you get them started, they really are in demand. People like to have coffee in a place like that. People like to live in a place like that. It's just great. It's great stuff, and it is fun. And I can tell you, I enjoy what I do. I love reviewing these buildings. They are fun to do. And I appreciate other people doing projects like it. And it just, there's synergy in our business where you do one project, someone does another project. I keep talking about the person who puts a restaurant in a home somewhere. It really does make a difference. That little thing does a lot. A coffee shop opening up is a form of community, and the more community you build, it's just fun to be part of it. We're going to look to put every activity we can put in that mill, because the more activity you can put in, the more enjoyable it ought to be around. And we've got a walk to the dam. We've got a nice walking trails, things like that. That's just great stuff. People enjoy being able to do that. So we think that's part of what we're hoping to create.
Okay, over. Is there any other questions? Really just like to thank everybody for coming out. It's wonderful to see all the people in the community, and really wonderful to see people come from so far away. There's a lot of people who drove over an hour. People from Boston and Hartford just to be here in our community and see the excitement going with this project.